So Dr. Tina Payne Bryson,
Yeah.
I am so excited to have you on the podcast. Thank you so much for being here. I've been really looking forward to this.
Thank you so much for having me. I was so excited when I got to meet you at a random dinner party with a mutual friend and couldn't wait to have this conversation with you.
That was really fun. And that's when you first told us about your book that's coming out. So I'm so excited to talk to you about it.
Thank you. I'm excited because this is actually my first podcast to get to talk about it. So I'm really, really excited to dig in.
I have to tell you, so the book that you wrote, I'm going to read the title out loud. It's called The Way of Play, Using Little Moments of Big Connection to Raise Calm, Confident Kids. I just think this is such a perfect book for, honestly, for myself. I really enjoyed reading it and gleaning insight and advice from you because I'm sure I'm hoping a lot of people can relate to me when I say this, but as a busy parent, when you come home from work, you want to play with your kids, but you don't want your kids to notice that you're tired and on your phone. You want to feel engaged. So your book gave me great strategies on how to do it, how to think about it. And I love that you gave me permission that it only has to be a few minutes.
Oh my goodness. Yes, I think sometimes we get in our minds that we are supposed to enter into this imaginary world of play, which is, of course, play is their first language. And it tells us so much about who they are, like what they're drawn to in play and how they play and all of these things. But it can feel really overwhelming. And look, if I'm just being honest, one of the reasons I wrote this book is because I hear parents all the time say exactly what you said, like I want to play, but I don't know what to do. Or, and this is honest, sometimes I really hate playing with my kids. It's not fun. It's boring. And I have definitely felt that, with my three boys, I felt like if I had to slam the two super guys together one more time, I was going to lose my mind. Like sometimes it's just not fun. And I think part of it's because we're coming at it thinking it has to be a long time. We have forgotten how to play and we're so distracted by all the other things that we need to do. And so if we can really in our minds say, look, this just can be for a short chunk of time, 5-10 minutes even, I can really be in it and really, be engaged and so much more fun if you let go and really focus.
Thank you. No, and thank you for saying that. Thank, thank you for allowing me to admit that I have felt like playing with my kids, especially when they were little, that it felt boring.
Boring. It really can be boring. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And we are so distracted now.
Absolutely. But, we all know not only is language the first, or play is the first language of children, and everybody knows this, that it's full of opportunity and really one of the most important things our kids can spend their time doing to build intellectual skills, cognitive skills, emotional skills, social skills, resilience, patience, frustration tolerance, like all of these things we want for them come out of the moments of play. And let me say first, too, free unstructured play where kids are just on their own and no one's playing with them is crucial and important. So this is not to say you should play with your children all the time. They actually should be playing on their own and playing with peers and siblings without you. This is really because I wrote this book with Georgie, my co-author, who's an incredible play therapist, because so much of there really isn't anything out there besides Lawrence Cohen's beautiful work, Playful Parenting, that I love, that really talks, how do we do it? Like, how do we actually get in there and play with them? Sometimes kids will even tell us you're doing it wrong, or they don't enjoy how we're responding to them in play. And then it's just frustrating for everybody. So this is really kind of like 7 strategies to help us play with our kids in ways that build relationship, build their skills, help us get to know our kid, and actually can be fun as well.
And you also pointed out in your book that it helps us shape memories together, which resonated with me so much because I can think about when I was a kid, when an adult would play with me, I still remember to this day. I remember my kindergarten teacher being so playful. He had such a great way about him. And I remember my parents were playful with me, or if there was a friend or a relative. So it does also shape our memories.
It does. And I love how you said that there. I think one of the things that is connected to that is the idea that anytime we have shared attention on something, that really is the essence of what true emotional connection is about. And so I think it's probably better to not play with our kids if we're super distracted and we're not even focusing on what's going on. That actually just communicates a bunch of stuff to them that we don't want them to be focused on. Like, my mom doesn't have time for me, or she's not interested in me, or she doesn't like playing with me. These are the kinds of things that they fill in the blank. It's better to either say, hey, I'm focusing on something right now. I need to deal with this, and then I'll come find you, or to put it down and go engage for a short period of time.
Yes, I totally agree with that. My husband and I really try to finish our work at work so that when we come home, we can be focused on our kids.
Yeah.
We are far from perfect, but that's something that we do try to model, because I do agree with you. I think the kids can tell when you're distracted and not paying attention to them.
And Jessica, I would say too, like, of course we're going to be tired when we come home from work. Some days at work are pretty stressful. And especially you as a pediatrician, sometimes you have really challenging days where you have to deliver tough news or, those kinds of things. I think our kids are so attuned to how we actually feel. So if we can just take a few minutes before we walk in, close our eyes for a minute, kind of get centered where we can walk in a more regulated state, great. But some days we're not going to really be able to do that, or we're going to try, but we get exhausted really quickly, even after having a reset. And I think, kids are so in tune with how we feel. And if they say something like, you're tired or you're grumpy or something like that, if we're like, no, I'm not, I'm fine, that really gives our kids only two good options. One is to not trust themselves, like, I must not be reading those cues right, or to not trust us. And neither of those are great options. So it's so much better to just lean into it, be like, you're right, I'm so tired. Will you tuck me into bed right now? I want a nap, and you could be playful even about that. Be like, you be the doctor, I'm going to be the patient, because I'm tired right now. So you tuck me in? Can you bring me a drink? And you kind of just can be playful with it too.
I think, after reading your book, I keep thinking about how can I insert playfulness into my day-to-day, into every moment possible with my kids. And I do really feel the difference. It's such an important reminder for us parents. So I'm really excited for people to read it and to glean the tips that I gleaned from your book.
Oh, thank you so much. I think play is obviously, like, you can be discreet. You can be in a playroom. You can be in the car and playing while you're, you can be playing in line at the, at the bank, whatever. We can bring play and playfulness into any situation. And one of the things that I felt like I wasn't necessarily, when my kids were little, so good at the playing, like where you think about it traditionally, where you're the captain and they're the pirate and, whatever. So some days I was good at that and some days I wasn't. But what I felt like I learned really early on, based on all the other stuff I know and about discipline and all of that, was that even though sometimes I've had parents say to me, like, I don't want to do an effing puppet show to just get my kids to put their shoes on. But what I found really early on was that the amount of energy I would spend when they weren't being cooperative in trying to, like, convince them or trying to set a boundary that I was then having to follow through on, all of these things, I could elicit cooperation so much faster, consistently, regardless of the mood my child was in, regardless of the mood I was in, regardless of what demand I was placing on them, if I was silly and playful. I mean, I just think about the typical battles, like, that all of us face, and that I'm sure you hear about all day long, like toothbrushing, falling, getting ready for bed, the whole getting out the door morning routines. Like, if we can just be silly and playful, like, I know when my 15-month-olds were 12 to 15 months old, when they didn't want to get in their car seats, which is obviously a non-negotiable, they would become like 2x4s. They were, like, incredibly strong and they wouldn't bend. So they just, like, wouldn't go in their car seats. And so, you can fight that battle. You can try and shove their bodies in there, and you can try and bribe them. You can do all kinds of things, right? What almost always worked was, please don't sit in your car seat. My imaginary friend is sitting in there right now, and if you sit on him, he's gonna cry, and then I'm gonna have to do that weird dance to calm down. So, you know what I mean? Like, or you just bring, oh, please don't put your shoes on, I'm wearing your shoes today. All of those moments, if we bring silliness and playfulness, not only is it memory building, relationship building, but it works to get cooperation.
And it's so much more fun for everybody.
Yeah.
This morning I was thinking about it. I was getting out of the door with my kids, and I had them clean up before we left, and I was trying to think, how can I make this more fun? And so we put on some music. I made it silly. I made it a contest. I bet you two kids can't put your stuff away faster than me. And sometimes they're on to me when I do things like that, but
sometimes they're on to you and it still works.
And it's right. I was just going to say, and they still did it, with a twinkle in their eye and a smile. But I do agree. I think anytime there's something in your family that feels like a task or mundane, those typical stressful family moments, I agree. If you can squeeze in some fun, which is possible, it makes it all better for all of us involved.
Definitely.